Azure Gleam. Clash of Torment. The Kingdom, Alliance, and Church of Seros join hands, laying bare their true aim, forcing the Empire to split their army between the Eastern and Western fronts. Their united armies gather their elite soldiers in the Valley of Torment and begin the march to reclaim Garreg Mach. However, the Empire will not sit idly by and let them take it.
Nice of you to swing by, Dimitri. Looks like we're all here then.
Apologies for the wait. How go the preparations?
All set. We're ready to ring in the new year with the greatest victory Fodlan has ever seen.
Every last soldier we could find is in formation and raring to go.
You'll see for yourself soon enough, and I think you're gonna like how it's looking. Are you planning on heading south right away?
That was my intention, yes. Why? Does something trouble you?
A bit, yeah. We got a report just over a month ago that Count Berglies had withdrawn from the Eastern Front. Which happens to line up exactly with when we pulled our own forces back. It's all a little too convenient, if you ask me. What I'm not sure of is whether he puzzled out our plan with Garreg Mach, or if he fell back to fortify Enbar instead. I guess the real question is how crafty the people calling the shots for the Imperials are.
They left quite the impression on us.
He's right. We had our hands full and more over in the west. Every time we claimed a territory, we'd look for spots to set up camp, only to find the army had razed all the towns and fields to the ground as they retreated.
If they're going that far, there's a good chance they've caught on to our plan. Though I doubt they're expecting all their enemies to come marching through the Valley of Torment hand in hand.
Couldn't we have picked an easier way, though? I'm practically swimming in sweat in this heat. Let's just hope we're almost out.
I see you have scarcely changed from your days at the Academy, Hilda.
Sedith? And Lady Rhea. Are you joining the cause as well?
I refuse to spectate from afar while the fate of Fodlan hangs in the balance.
Well, sure, but if something were to happen to you, it would be the end of the whole church.
Friendly fire from a bow.
I am capable of taking care of myself. And I want nothing more than to aid you in this battle.
We know every inch this valley has to offer. Allow us to guide you.
If we can traverse it unnoticed, we should arrive at Garreg Mach without incident. The valley's terrain, however, is well suited for ambushes and other such craven tactics.
So, Rhea doesn't want to be the one, doesn't want our side to be the one, setting up these ambushes.
Yes. We must exercise the utmost caution as we proceed. Our movements should be not only swift, but sensible.
And in the off chance we do face hostilities, we'll surely require help from the Knights of Seros.
If need be, I will lead them myself. Now come, let us restore our rightful claim to Garreg Mach, and put an end to this monstrous tyranny.
How are we supposed to keep Rhea away from Geralt and Byleth when she's joining in the fighting? I mean, the map is only so big.
Would you mind listening to my idea?
I have an idea.
Training points.
I'll do it.
Now then.
Alright. So we did get the ending we wanted, finally. It took like twice as long to figure out what the heck we were supposed to do to get that ending in this route than it did in the Golden Deer route, which is kind of salty about, but you know what? It is what it is. My own fault for not being very good at the game. Alright, time to talk to people.
Excuse me.
What must we do to attain victory over such a fierce opponent? I speak of your next goal. I wish to be of as much use to you as I can, seeing as we're partners in destiny. Strength alone will be insufficient. We must be clever as well. Alright, cool. Thanks for your support. Sylvain, hey.
Oh yeah.
His Majesty and Felix have really risen to the occasion. 10 years ago, they were squabbling over who broke whose sword. Now look at them. One's a king and the other's a duke. They're fighting at each other's side, issuing orders to other lords. I won't lie, it's still hard to believe. Maybe it's time I get my act together too. Good luck with that, Sylvain. We believe in you. Mostly. Never in a million years did I think Gerald's mercenaries would become our allies. When you said you wanted them on our side, I thought you might have taken a hard hit on the head or something.
Uh-huh.
But you actually pulled it off. You really can do anything. Yay. We have Gerald's mercenaries with us. We're so happy. Since joining the Kingdom Army, I've been to a myriad of places and seen all variety of landscapes. But ALL is truly extraordinary. I don't think there's anywhere else like it in all of Fodlan. Have you heard the story of how it came to be? That this is all the work of the goddess. It's just a folktale, but think how terrifying it would be if it were true.
Aw.
If the goddess saw our current state of affairs and got angry again, then we would all be in grave danger. Yeah. I mean... Oh, what are these on the walls? Oh, they're just helmets. There's just a bunch of helmets on this wall. Are these like the helmets taken off the corpses of our enemies? Is that too gruesome? Maybe. Or maybe they're just here for decoration, or maybe they're like, I don't know. I don't know. Huh. Alright. Let's keep talking. Marianne, hey.
Would you like to talk? Did you know?
I was recently reunited with Hilda after a terribly long time apart. She'd been very worried about me. She's always spoken so kindly to me, even at the Officers' Academy. I had thought it best to keep others at arm's length, and never even so much as said thank you to them. But when we were separated, I found myself missing Hilda dearly. I guess what I'm saying is, it's nice to have a friend. She makes me feel stronger and more courageous. Oh, that's so sweet. And now you're together again, right? Do we have Hilda in camp? Because that would be awesome. Oh, more, helmets? Or heads? You never know. The heads could still be in there. It's only a matter of time before the enemy gets wind of what we're after. In fact, they might have already.
Well,
It would be wise to consider the possibility of a massive battle in the Valley of Torment. Ask why? Agree with him? You're right, we should be catching the enemy off guard, but they might have enough time to deploy a small elite force. That probably depends on Count Hevring, since he's defending the West and how quickly the Emperor will react. The sooner she does, the more likely they'll send a larger army.
Right.
That being said, we're also deploying a small raiding party of our most elite in anticipation of that. Not to mention, we'll be doing battle in ALL, where larger numbers aren't particularly at an advantage. I don't think it'll be impossible to win. Neither do we. Oh hey look, Gustav is back. Or Gilbert. It's been so long, Father. How have you been faring in the Alliance? Just fine, Annette. I'm relieved to see no harm has come to you. The others do a good job looking out for me. Are you going to be joining us in the fight for Garrick Mach? I would like to, but I have been charged with managing our reserve troops. Once I've finished here, I am to return to the capital to gather Duke Ivan and Margrave Gautier.
No way!
Working yourself to the bone, as usual. Not that I want you fighting on the front lines. But isn't running around doing all those errands exhausting? Indeed it is, but you must forgive me. These duties bear great importance as well. Oh, look at that. We have a happy reunion. Oh my, we may finally be able to return to Garrick Mach. The monastery serves as a symbol of the Holy Church of Seros. In the name of the goddess, we must stop at nothing to reclaim it.
Wow.
Furthermore, if we do return, we shall no longer have to burden the kingdom so. Nobody down there. Where we are now isn't unbearable, but I'm sure it will get hotter once we enter the valley.
That isn't good.
Many people from Fargis don't do well in the heat, so I can't help but be concerned for them. Finding a way to stay cool, laugh it off. There's gotta be a way to stay cool, even in the valley. Maybe we can ask someone who knows ice magic. Oh yes, that might work. We could consult with the scholars. We won't be in any condition to fight if we're all exhausted when we reach the monastery. True, true.
was thinking.
Ah, you're in my way.
Got a minute?
The previous leader of the Alliance looked gentle as a kitten, but was a tough-as-nails old man who kept his cards close to his chest. What do you think of the new guy, Claude? I've been doing some digging. Why, Balthus, why? Been doing some digging into him. Claude's a schemer, Claude's charming. Why he researched Claude? I mean, he is a schemer. But he's charming too? And we already know why he researched Claude. Like, it's for money. Balthus does everything for money.
Let's see.
Not sure yet. I've only talked with him a little, but he seems like a real charmer.
I get you.
Yeah, he probably gets that from his mom. I guess that's better than having some jerk for a leader. Alright, cool.
I was thinking.
We're finally on our way to Garreg Mach. I'm all fired up. That place is special to me. Do everything you can to get it back, okay? Oh, and I'm all stocked up on what you need to get the job done. You've got this.
Welcome.
Thank you. We
Thanks
appreciate
a bunch.
your help and your items. Garreg Mach's smack dab in the middle of Fodlan, right? I know it's got historical significance, but is it really worth sacrificing so many lives over? Definitely not. Hidden secrets? Sacred ground? Who cares?
Let's see.
It's a huge building, probably with some crazy catacombs underneath. Who knows what kind of secrets might be hiding down there? You think so too, huh? There definitely were some suspicious passages beneath the monastery. Oh, don't we know it?
Greetings, friend. Nothing to report.
Now that we've got the Alliance and Church on our side, I'm starting to think we can win this thing. You have a real humdinger of a battle coming, so I'll be cheering you on from here. Thanks, we appreciate it.
Hey!
They say that long ago this area wasn't a valley, but a lush, vast forest. But when the goddess saw how thoroughly corrupt humans had become, she flew into a rage. She unleashed divine judgment from the heavens, reducing the entire region of ALL to ash. Do you think the flames are still burning under the ground after all this time? Sure, I guess. That's why it's so hot? Maybe? I don't know how this works.
Got a minute?
Are we sure Her Grace the Archbishop should be commanding the front lines? Could get real hairy out there. Can she even fight? That's a funny question. Though I did hear she took command during the battle when the monastery fell. At any rate, we can't let anything happen to her. Gotta stay sharp out there. Alright, good luck with that. We would love to have Rhea fight as an active unit.
Well,
The Strang army would have invaded by now if we didn't have the Margrave keeping watch. After one particularly fierce conflict long ago, it was agreed that Strang and its people would be subject to Vargas's will. However, they still attack in hopes of claiming our fertile lands.
incidentally,
On the other hand, Duskur and Vargas had a tumultuous relationship decades ago. And yet you can count the number of conflicts between them on one hand. That could be due to Duskur's lands being more fertile than the ones in Vargas. Yeah, makes sense, right?
You there.
If this plan works and we retake Garreg Mach, then the war will be over, as long as the Empire isn't run by fools, that is. Agree with her? Expressed out.
You sure?
You think so? We might drive the Empire back, but who knows how long the Alliance will play nice. Oh, that's not what I meant. Shez, don't put words in our mouth. The Alliance. That possibility hadn't crossed my mind. You're sharper than you look. What? That is not what we meant by that. That is not. We weren't trying to throw shade on the Alliance. Shez. What are these people thinking, approaching Garreg Mach through that insufferable valley? It is unbearably hot, the paths are precarious, and danger lurks around every corner. Ugh, what misery. It's so depressing, in fact, that I want to go back to bed. Oh, Linhart.
Greetings.
Now that the Alliance forces have joined us, we should be returning to Claude's command. However, we will continue to work with you all until we have reclaimed the monastery. Suspicion. Gratitude. Glad to hear it. I was worried you all would cut out of here as soon as you could. We fought so many battles together at this point, it's like you belong here anyway. The order comes from Claude, but it was never our intention to leave partway through. We are proof of the friendship between the kingdom and the Alliance, so to speak. We appreciate your continued cooperation. Thanks, Lawrence. Does that mean Claude is joining us too, please? And Hilda...
Greetings.
Leonie? She's not here, right? Is it just the three of them? Are we missing anybody? Well, we've stayed a good while, but it's finally time to say goodbye to the Kingdom Army base camp. Once the battle at Garreg Mach is over, we'll be joining up with the Alliance.
Hear me out.
I promised the gang here that we'd throw back a few drinks and celebrate once Garreg Mach is reclaimed. Oh. See, look at that. Friendship across borders. That's what we're all about here.
Oh, it's you.
Alright, this is it. We're finally storming Garreg Mach. My blood's boiling. But I gotta say, if we're gonna attack him anyway, there's no need to sweat our backsides off sneaking through ALO. We should just kick down the doors and start knocking Imperial skulls. Alright, like your style.
A moment.
I know the terrain from Garreg Mach to ALL well. I shall act as our guide. How do you know this terrain so well? Why do you go to ALL so often, Seneth? Because I feel like that's the only way you could, know it like the back of your hand, as you claim. Of course, the Archbishop will be leading us a battle, and is prepared to employ the full might of the Knights of Seros. If we squander this opportunity, so too goes our chance to retake Garreg Mach. We must succeed at all costs. The goddess's protection is on our side. Let us fight together to claim victory. At long last, it seems we'll be able to return to Garreg Mach. The monastery is like home to me. It is the only place I can imagine going back to. I vow to do my very best, so I hope you all will lend me your strength. Once we are safely behind Garreg Mach's walls again, I hope we can reopen the Officers' Academy as well.
Well,
What Mercedes said about the Death Knight has been bothering me. I also talked to some people in the Alliance army, and they haven't seen him either. A monster like him can't live without fighting, so it's hard to believe he's just gone. He might be dead. He left the military?
What do you think?
Maybe he left the military. Life pulls you in all sorts of directions, you know? You really think he'd do that? Doesn't sound likely to me. Still, it's all fine with me if it means we don't have to face him again. Really, Felix? You not want to fight somebody? Now that is surprising.
Listen, we must speak.
I've returned to ALL. Last time I was defeated and surrendered. At that time, I was chasing the Archbishop. She is here now also. Is this what is called fate? Or irony?
That reminds me.
Definitely seems like a twist of fate. But this time you're fighting on the same side. We were enemies then. Now we are allies. We will not be losing. It feels like a bad omen for battle. Perhaps that is why my heart is racing. No. Or you're just excited? Yeah. Or nervous. Could be anything. Could be anything. I'd hoped for a swift return to my unit, but now that we've come so far together,
Essentially.
I must admit I've grown very fond of the people in this army. I used to feel such animosity toward Fargus, but now I actually want them to win. I can't believe it. Friendship cross borders.
That's not good.
There haven't been any sightings of Ferdy or Hubie in months. I hope they've been merely stripped of their station and not something worse. I know they're our enemies, but I wonder if we'll see them at Garreg Mach. Which reminds me, we haven't put Dorothea on the map at all since we got her, which is unfortunate. We should remedy that. Garreg Mach lies before us at last, the final piece of our strategy. The enemy could be lurking anywhere though, so we need to keep our wits about us. ALL's harsh environment and unusual terrain make it unsuitable for large armies. But it is perfect for guerrilla tactics. The enemy's not the only one who'll be taking advantage of that. Exactly, we should set our own ambushes. Who cares what Rhea thinks? Byleth!
Hey!
You look puzzled. Is something wrong?
No.
I just feel strange. Everyone's been much more welcoming than I thought they'd be. No one's all that terrified of me. Oh, Byleth! What? What? We don't get to assuage her fears? We don't get to comfort her? Make her feel better? That's just rude.
Oh, hi!
We're gonna take back the monastery next, aren't we? It's been ages. I missed the Officers' Academy. Really? Raphael, you missed the homework? Is that what it is? I was never good at book learning, but it was fun hanging out with everyone from our classes. What do you remember most? Dining hall? Mock battle?
Let's see.
Probably the dining hall. I hadn't experienced sharing a meal with friends in such a peaceful place before. The food was great too. That one dining hall lady was always so nice to us.
Oh,
I wonder what's going on at the monastery right now. Is anyone from the old days still there? Who knows? Who knows?
Please listen.
While you were fighting in the west, we've been shuttling between the eastern and western fronts providing support. The Eastern Front had their share of struggles as well. The Alliance's meager forces were up against the Minister of Military Affairs army, after all. Though the enemy was superior in number and more experienced, the Alliance was able to stave off the onslaught through a deft deployment of strategies. Alright, cool. Cool. All thanks to Claude, I'm sure.
Hey,
A lot of people in the church are wound up about that power of yours. Some of them even suspect you're in league with Tomas. But I don't think that's true. We can trust you, right? Reassure. Tell him you don't know.
yeah.
I'm honestly
I
not
don't
sure
know.
myself, but I know that right now I just want us to win this thing. Gotcha. You know, I was told to keep you away from Lady Rhea.
Uh-huh.
But she seems to trust you, so I'm not gonna worry about it. Told by whom? By Sedith? Was it by Sedith? It might have been by Sedith. I mean, who else would Cyril actually listen to besides Rhea? Right?
Hi there. Say.
So tell me, are you one of the people worried about Lady Rhea's ability to command on the front lines? Nope.
Nuh-uh.
We're worried about her ability to turn into a dragon on the front lines and just lose her, lose all control and just, you know, burn everybody alive, enemies and foes alike. That's our worry. Not really. She used to deploy the knights to settle conflicts, didn't she? And to good effect, from what I've heard. It's not hard to imagine she would make a great commander. That's right, she's got more experience leading armies than most of our generals combined. I wanted to fight by her side, but Lady Rhea insisted I aid the Kingdom Army. Well, Catherine's put out. While Annette is giving 1,000%, Catherine is giving 50%, because, you know, it's not Rhea. It's not Rhea. The Valley of Torment, the name alone sends chills down my spine. And even if I survive, my father's going to be waiting at Garrick Mach on the other side. Now I'm doubly terrified. You all go on ahead. I'm going to just burrow under a blanket forever. Encourage? Call her bluff?
Come on.
Hang in there, Bernadetta. You can do this. We're gonna need all our best fighters to win this thing.
What?
I'm one of your best fighters? Oh, in that case. Poor Bernadetta. It's okay. We miss people over here. Oh, Gerald!
That's concerning.
Alois is still wearing the crest of Saros on his back, even though he's not a knight anymore. It sure feels strange fraternizing with our arch enemies, but bridging the gap is all part of the fun. I suppose you didn't get the pun. You see, it's a play on arch enemies and bridging the gap. What do you think? I've been really sharpening my joke skills these past 2 years. Honestly, I think they've gotten worse. Like, usually I get Alois's jokes, but this one he had to actually explain. Anyways, had our formation suggested so that I could avoid the knights. Well, Lady Rhea specifically. But I didn't expect that she'd come to this camp herself. I doubt the Kingdom Army expected it either.
I hate to ask,
I don't mind if you
but
talk to Lady Rhea, but just keep us out of it. And especially don't mention Byleth. The two of them have a bit of a complicated history. You got it. We don't want them to talk either. But if they maybe had dialogue together, we wouldn't mind?
You busy?
Ah,
Hey, I'm Jets, the #1 breadwinner in Gerald's Mercenaries. Nice to meet ya. Do I have a brother? I don't know. I've been alone my whole life. Why are you looking like you've seen a ghost? Was it something I said? Is this the first time? I feel like we've had this conversation before. Maybe it was during, like, the Golden Deer route. But, like, yeah. Terrible memory.
Hi there.
It's fine. It's whatever. We'll figure it out eventually. Oh, Rhea's Gerald. You were like so close to Rhea. She could like walk outside down the stairs and there you are.
So it is.
I've heard tell of your exploits. You have been working rather hard, it seems. Though it may not have been for the church, you saved our lives nonetheless. It definitely was not for you. As the Archbishop of the Church of Saros, allow me to express my sincere gratitude. Give a humble reject her thanks.
Nuh-uh.
I'm just doing my job. No need to thank me. You have earned the goddess's favor, regardless of your— oh, that's what she thinks. That's what she thinks. Except Sothis definitely just tried to kill us. Regardless of your beliefs. The Empire, on the other hand, must face severe punishment for inciting such a foolish conflict. I ask that you continue to wield your magnificent power with righteousness.
I entrust this to you.
For Fodlan and all who reside here, I am counting on you.
I wonder.
It is quite fortunate we were able to convince Gerald's mercenaries to join our cause.
Indeed.
Indeed, I have no doubt that they will play a key role in recapturing Garrick Mach, though it pains me to send them into battle when they wish to avoid the church. Yeah, good job on that promise, guys. Real good job. Fogland's fate hangs in the balance. We have no choice but to rely on their strength. Yes, we must join forces now and end this conflict as swiftly as possible. Oh, there's a book. Old letter. Dear father and mother, it's been 4 months since my last letter. The days show no sign of warming, but I hope you're keeping well. The instructors here are really putting us through our paces, and His Highness is a demanding training partner, to say the least. Still, I'm managing to enjoy myself. I'm writing to let you know that I've been asked to join the Dusker trip planned for the Horsebow Moon. Okay, so before Dimitri. So when Lambert was in the academy, I guess? I know Father was rather concerned about such a possibility last we met, but hardly trained enough. So in the worst case scenario, I could be his human shield. Okay. I mean, they mentioned shield. When I joked about such a thing, His Highness said he didn't find that funny. I mean, nobody would. Nobody would. Maybe in a break between discussions in Dusker, I could plan to return to the castle. I want to see how far Felix, with my own eyes. Oh, wait. Oh, it's Glenn! It's Glenn! Alright, I was just like, wait a minute. Felix wasn't born yet when Rodrigue was in school. So this can't be Rodrigue. But they clearly care about Felix and like how much he's grown. So it's Glenn. Okay. Tell him not to neglect for me, will you? Neglect his sword training. If he ever hopes to best me, let alone His Highness, he'll have to start training by dragging boulders up a mountain. P.S. The other day I received a very nice dagger from... Sent it to Galatea with a letter. If she ever comes to Fraldarius, let her know how much he misses Ingrid. Oh, it's from Glenn. Someone's letter home to their family. The writing is smeared in places, making it hard to read. That's just sad. Oh my gosh. I finally returned to my old self. Now my name shall be known throughout all of Fargus as well. Cheer her on, Cut-in.
Huh?
Did you say as well? So you're already known in other places. Well, that is certainly my intention, and I will thank you not to split hairs. I swear, one day I shall restore House Nouvelle to its former glory. Alright, that looks like everybody.
Well, if it isn't our mercenary friend, I trust you've adjusted to life in the kingdom by now.
Yeah, more or less. I've been here a few times before on the job, so it's not too big a shock. But I've never lived as far north as Ferdiad. There's still a bunch I need to get used to. Stuff like the wind blowing straight through you, or how it's always so stupidly cold, even inside, or how you can't go out after a blizzard. It snowed so much one night that I couldn't even open the door in the morning. Thought I was off to meet the goddess that day.
An amusing enough story when you tell it like that. But Fargus winters are no joke. They're harsh, unforgiving beasts. Tell me, have you grown to despise the cold?
Oh, it's miserable. Bet I'm not the only person who thinks that way either, seeing how much it snows. I honestly used to think it was some kind of beautiful magic when I was a kid, but I realize now just how rough this stuff can be.
To be frank, I'm not fond of the snow myself. Not to mention the countless lives we've lost to the bitter chill of winter. Nevertheless, this brutal tundra is the only home we have. Meaning there's nothing to do but adapt, persevere, and enjoy the lives we've built here.
Adapt? Like how the messengers ride Pegasi instead of horses during the winter.
Exactly. The sight of those majestic creatures soaring through the frost-ridden sky is one unique to Fargus. No matter how much snow blankets the ground, our Pegasi quite literally rise to the occasion. When my son and his majesty were still just boys, they followed one off into the frigid mountains of all places. By the time I found them, they were but two shivering masses on the ground. For a moment, I thought my heart would never beat again.
Oh, is that the one where Dimitri and Felix got stuck in the cabin in the mountains?
So, Felix has been getting into trouble ever since he was a kid, huh?
His penchant for danger is unchanged, yes. Though I fear his disposition has grown far sharper. The hardships of becoming Duke at his age are undoubtedly weighing upon his mind.
I don't know. I don't think you need to worry about him. He can take care of himself just fine.
A fair point. Perhaps it's time I let him spread his wings like the Pegasus he chased all those years ago. It seems the coming winter will bring more than just cold to Fargus. The ravages of war approach on the same wind. Training in such conditions will be a struggle indeed, but we cannot afford to ignore the looming Srang threat either. Managing our territories through it all will not be an easy task. But I have faith we will adapt, persevere, and overcome, just as we always have.
Next winter, huh? We'll just have to do whatever it takes to make sure the war's over by then. Hey, Rodrigue, you got a sec?
What's the matter? You look troubled.
Well, we ended up spending most of this winter out on the battlefield. So, I was thinking, if we put an end to the war before next winter rolls around, maybe we could all go back north and...
And? Speak plainly.
I want to have a snowball fight. Dimitri said that's how all the kids in Fargus played during the winter. I figure it'd be good to try at least once, now that I'm living here in the kingdom.
Yes, let's do that. That would be so much fun.
Yes, a fine idea. The sport's rather profound, if I do say so myself.
Shez would dominate because he has the most decks out of everybody, I'm sure.
Dividing into factions and formulating strategies makes it just as much a battle of minds as it does one of hurled snow.
Hold on, strategy? This sounds kinda intense for a kid's game.
I mean, they're from Fargus. They make everything into battle and strategy and training.
It is. When we were still in the throes of our youth, Lambert, Matthias, and I faced off in such a contest. With our squires in tow, we traveled to the northern mountains to do battle.
Hey, that sounds like fun. So, what happened?
I was the first to fall. I hid in the shadows, biding my time and observing the enemy's movements until the moment was right to strike. And yet, such an opportunity never came. While his subordinates fought freely in the open, His Majesty launched a surprise attack on my position. Unfortunately, my men and I were unable to land even a single blow on him. Our defeat was a matter of course.
Now I know where Dimitri gets his tendency to rush into battle alone. Like father, like son, huh?
Indeed. Still, it's difficult to feel wronged when you've been defeated in such a swift and skillful manner. My downfall left only Lambert and the Margrave, a man notorious for his rotten character even as a child. His strategy was not to attack outright, but to prepare an ambush for His Majesty in one of the more densely wooded groves.
Seriously? All that for just a snowball fight? No wonder Sylvain is so cunning. Anyway, what happened next?
We were all familiar with Matthias's ignoble tactics, so His Majesty was careful to avoid the cowardly ambush which had been laid for him. At last, just as the opposing generals were staring each other down...
I mean, work smarter, not harder, right?
Gunnar, the current Count Galatea and noble, many years our senior, emerged from the wood to put a stop to it. In the end, our final showdown that day was between his hands and the scruffs of our necks, all while our ears rang with his dire warnings about the mountains.
That sounds like Ingrid's dad, all right. Guess that means nobody won, huh?
Yes, the story dates back several decades, but I still remember it as if we were trudging through the snow only yesterday. Say, if you do end up mustering an army for one of these snowball battles, I would be honored to observe, should you have me.
This entire war should just be a snowball battle. Welcome. Ask him to join in. Yes,
Why
please.
don't you join us? As one of the combatants, I mean. I'm sure Dimitri and the Margrave won't mind. You won't be facing the same opponents, but maybe then you'll finally settle the score. For old time's sake.
A sound point. Very well. I'd be thrilled to partake when the time comes. You know, of late I've been dreading the coming winter, but now I feel I may actually look forward to it.
Their area support is totally just a snowball fight. We almost didn't get this A support. Sorry, Rodrigue.
Hey, Rodrigue. Looking for something specific?
I am. It's a book called Keyhole's General Treatise on Mercenaries. I was hoping to brush up a bit.
Sounds familiar. Pretty sure I skimmed through it back at the academy. Are you gonna use it for the next campaign or something?
Well, perhaps.
Rodrigue, is everything okay? You're not really the kind of guy to skirt around answers like that.
If I may, do you remember when we faced Gerald and his mercenaries in battle?
Your memory's a bit fuzzy. I mean, it only happened yesterday?
Honestly, I was kinda lost in the heat of it all. Hard to remember much outside of a few fuzzy details.
He may or may not have killed you.
I can hardly blame you, given the intensity of the clash. That you survived at all is a minor miracle.
Coming from Rodrigue, that's just funny.
One mistake is all it would have taken for us to suffer a crushing defeat. Thankfully, we managed to seize the initiative ourselves and emerge victorious.
Yep, you keep telling yourself that, Rodrigue. You keep telling yourself.
Had we not, our main camp would surely have fallen. I expect I too would have lost my life in the fray.
Yeah, it felt like there was danger lurking around every corner. Almost like I was walking on thin ice, never sure when it was gonna crack beneath me.
It frustrated me to no end, both as a warrior and a commander. To see such foresight, such clever strategies emerging from the other side.
Just gotta do better.
Without the wisdom of our predecessors, I would never have been able to assess the situation. Hence why I again find myself here seeking knowledge.
You never fail to impress me, Rodrigue. All those years of experience, and you still have the drive to sit down and study tactics in your time off.
I merely despise the idea of defeat, nothing more. I lack the cunning of the Margrave. And unlike Lambert, I lack the overwhelming courage necessary to turn the tide of battle on my own. Which is why I must learn as many strategies as I can. It's the only way I can prevail over those both wiser and braver than I.
You know, you've said before that you and Felix don't have a whole lot in common, but I'm not so sure that's true. Neither of you miss a single chance to improve yourselves. Guess the apple really doesn't fall far from the tree. And that goes for Dimitri, Sylvain, and yeah, even Felix. As for you, Rodrigue, I think all that hard-earned knowledge is exactly what makes you the incredible commander you are.
Oh, Shez.
Ha! I'll spare you the humility and just accept the compliment. Thank you.
I bet you could even beat the Margrave or the former king if you took him on now.
I wouldn't be so sure. Both of them were far beyond my reach in their prime. And the Margrave aside, I could never hope to meet Lambert as equals. I'd struggle for an eternity without ever growing close to his might.
I guess you can't exactly catch up to someone when they're gone.
Perhaps not. But that's exactly why we must continue learning. To never stop reaching for those who seem beyond our grasp.
Gotcha. Then I'm just gonna have to follow in your footsteps. I'll catch up to you before you know it, Rodrigue. Just don't go dying on me before I get the chance.
Man, this whole thing is just irony.
Is that so? Then I suppose I'll have to work even harder to give you a proper challenge.
Irony wrapped up in a support dialogue.
Oh yeah, you were looking for Keyhole's treatise, right? Let me go ask if anyone knows where it is.
Oh. Will I really make it home next winter?
I mean, you will now.
Hey.
What kind of greeting is that? I gave you my title, not free license for insolence.
Spare me the lecture. I have a question about the lords of Southern Fraldaria's territory.
So you're having trouble with them as well, are you? Let me guess. They're withholding provisions. Or perhaps they refuse to send troops they promised.
How did you know?
Because I've been through the same thing with them any number of times.
Southern soldiers are unskilled, but they make up for it with sheer numbers. I need their cooperation, yet they refuse to negotiate. And I have no idea how to convince them.
Yes. I imagine they're dealing with their own issues.
And what issues would those be?
When they refused to send reinforcements for the invasion of Sreng, it was because the lords were embroiled in a succession dispute. If one house sent soldiers, the others would pounce on the opportunity to move against them. But mere letters could never have told you something like that.
So you went around to each territory personally?
Yes. Though considering we're presently on war footing, doing so now would be unwise.
Well, that's hardly helpful, but I'll take it into consideration and see what I can do.
Just send Rodrigue. He's retired. He's got nothing but time on his hands.
Something funny?
Just thinking that you've grown into a fine duke.
Were you expecting me to fail? You're the one who gave me the title, after all.
True. But I inherited the role when I was much older than you. You're doing extremely well for your age. It seems I raised two very capable sons.
Don't tell me you're glorifying Glenn's death again.
Felix.
I've been walking in your footsteps, serving our king and leading an army of knights. After all that, I thought maybe I'd come to understand you a bit better. But I still can't stomach what you said that day.
Looks like I overstepped yet again. Perhaps the two of us will never see eye to eye. If Glenn were alive, I half suspect he'd say I was being childish. Sit down, Felix.
Can we make this quick? I'm busy.
For once, would you please just... No, not today. The truth is, I think it's time we sat down and talked. Neither of us know which day could be our last, so we should both ensure there's no lingering regret when the time comes.
Well, this is off to a grim start. So, what is it you want to talk about?
I wanted to apologize for what I said about Glenn. It was ill put, and I'm sorry. I should never have said such a thing in your presence.
If you're going to explain yourself, I suppose I can make the time to hear you out.
Thank you. Then I will not mince words. I too was mortified by Glenn's death. Yet he perished a hero. He chose that life for himself, and he chose that death. He fought to protect the future of Fargus and his friend, until his dying breath. As his father, I felt I had to acknowledge that choice.
And how are you so sure it was his choice? Neither of us really knows what he was thinking. The boar might have an inkling, but all he goes on about is how he caused Glenn's death.
You're right. I don't know for certain. But I know what I would have done had I been there. And you, Felix? What would your choice have been? Would you have abandoned His Majesty to save yourself? Or would you have chosen to fight until death claimed you? I myself would have safeguarded His Majesty at all costs. I know that it wasn't in Glenn's nature to flee either.
It's always about courage or cowardice with you. I wouldn't have chosen anything. When your life's on the line, you don't have time to think about that stuff. Only act. I would have fought with my own will, in whatever way I thought best. And I would have made sure we both survived.
You always want to have it both ways. Still, I take pride in that determination of yours. Had I been there, I doubt I could have summoned the resolve to strive for such a victory. More likely, I would have been satisfied merely to die in the defense of my liege.
I can understand that way of thinking. In fact, I always have. But I still couldn't stomach Glenn's death being glorified.
And I'm sorry for that, Felix. Truly.
It's all right. And I'm glad we talked. Also, you said we shouldn't leave regrets behind, so... I'm sorry too. For hitting you back then, I mean. I'm sorry, Father.
I think that's the first time he's called him father.
You know, I'd almost forgotten about that. It hurt, too. More than any blow I've received in battle.
Oh, shut up. I said I was sorry. Now, if we're done here, I'm leaving.
Ah, Your Majesty. Tending to your weapon, I see. My apologies for interrupting you.
It's all right. I just finished. Is there something you need, Rodrigue?
Yes, in fact. I received this from Matthias when I was in Gautier territory the other day.
From the Margrave? But this sword is...
He said he'd borrowed it from Lambert years ago, and had long since forgotten about it. What sort of laggard keeps a loan so long he has to return it to the lender's son? 30 years!
That would have been around the time you all attended the Officers' Academy together, correct? Would you mind telling me the story of this sword?
It started when our class was given a mission to eradicate a bandit encampment. Foolish as I was at the time, I dashed in ahead of the others, leaving me and my entire unit stranded behind enemy lines.
Hey, he really is Felix's father.
Apparently, your father and Matthias started arguing about whether or not it was worth coming to save me. Broke out into a full-on fistfight before long.
I mean, it's a miracle he's here right now.
That's a surprise. I wouldn't have expected that of my father, much less the Margrave.
Well, they were both pretty feisty in their day. Neither of them wanted to back down, I'm sure. On one hand, you had Matthias, insisting they wait for aid from the church. Supplies were running low, so charging in could have gotten everyone killed. On the other, Lambert was so determined to come to our rescue, he'd have gone all by himself if he had to. No idea whose plan won in the end, sadly. All I know is they fought their way through the enemy lines together. And lucky for me, they found us before the bandits did.
So, my father tended to charge in recklessly as well. Or perhaps he was just naive in his youth.
Story goes, Matthias's lance broke while they were fighting their way toward us, so Lambert lent him this sword. As he was giving it to me, he couldn't help but laugh about how it slipped his mind for all these years.
Considering what I know of the Margrave, I have my doubts that he actually forgot it at all.
You're probably right. This is just my opinion, but I don't think he ever really managed to accept Lambert's death until you ascended the throne.
Perhaps. In any case, please tell him I've received it. And thank you for relaying that story to me. It seems even in his youth, my father was willing to do whatever it took to see those close to him safe. Yet here I've gone and started a war, knowing full well it will hurt those I care about most. He'd likely call me a fool if he were here today.
I'm not so sure about that. Yes, he did treasure his friends, but I don't think he would have been too keen on abandoning the church either, considering all they've done to protect the people of Fargus.
Rodrigue, you knew my father well. Could I ask you to do something for me? If I ever attempt anything that would bring shame to his name, please.
Say no more. I'll stop you, even if I have to lay down my life to do it. I already promised him the same thing, actually.
In another time and place, Rodrigue. Another time and place.
You have my deepest thanks. Do you have a moment, Rodrigue? There's something I'd like to ask you.
Anything for you, Your Majesty. What is it?
I want to hear your side of the story.
Of which story exactly?
How did you feel when you learned of my father's death? I've struggled to ask this before, but I want to know.
So that's what you mean. Honestly, I had a difficult time believing it at first. But as moons passed, I gradually grew to accept the reality of it. And of course, I recalled the promise I'd made him, and vowed to myself that I would carry it out.
I wonder then, had I died alongside my father in Glen and Dusker, what would you have done? You know, a fleeting thought flashes across my mind every time I see you reflect upon my father. It feels as though you aspired not just to stand beside him in life, but to meet death with him as well.
Don't overthink it, Your Majesty. I'm a pretty stubborn guy, you know. No, I didn't wish for my own death when Lambert passed. But sometimes I think that if I have to die to honor my promise to him, I would be satisfied with that.
I won't allow you to throw your life away, Rodrigue. I'll not have you stolen from me by that promise. Losing you would be almost like losing my father for a second time. If you were to die because of me, it would destroy me.
You may say that, but a subject lives by the example their king sets for them. And I know well enough that you don't value your life either. So if you'd like me to place more importance on my life, I urge you to do the same, Your Majesty.
Wow, way to turn the tables on him.
You're right. I have no excuse.
No, I should apologize. That came out rather more harsh than I intended.
No, you tell him like it is.
You sounded so much like Lambert just now, I simply couldn't hold myself back. In truth, that's something I've wished I could have said to him for a long time now. Yet, you were the one who had to bear the brunt of it. I suppose I can hardly poke fun at Matthias for holding on to that sword all those years, can I?
I sounded like my father?
Indeed you did. Remember the story of the sword? About how I got stuck behind enemy lines like a fool? Well, the first thing Lambert said after he broke through their forces was, "Don't throw your life away like that." Not that it was too convincing coming from a guy covered in cuts and scrapes.
I can't imagine. It sounds as though you two were very close. I envy him for having such strong bonds with his friends.
Don't let my son catch you saying that. Pretty sure he'd take offense. Anyway, that's enough reminiscing for one day. How about you try squeezing some memories out of Matthias next time?
A fine idea. Perhaps I'll invite Sylvain and the others to join in as well.